So I'm Coach Butler. I'm the head football coach at Trinity International University out in Deerfield, Illinois. You can follow me on Twitter at Coach Butler TIU. My email is also in the side there, lmbutler@tiu.edu. Today I'm going to talk about systems and putting systems in place to help yourself be successful just in coaching and while you're running a program to make your life easier. And definitely stole this from a guy, and I thought it was genius the way he said it. And then when you're talking about a system, if you look at it's kind of an acronym, not really, but yes, the system is save yourself time and money. We as coaches, we're always looking for ways that we can steal time and ways that we can help serve ourselves and better ourselves and our players. And so putting a system in place will help you save that time and then the money, So if you have a system in place, obviously, with life, if you got a system for your finances, you're going to be able to save a lot more money depending on how you're dealing with your finances. And so got to always talk about and start with what is a system. And a system, and I stole this from dictionary.com, it's a set of principles or procedures according to which something is done, an organized scheme or method. And so when you're thinking about your system, you want to think about it as what are you going to be doing to get this done, to get whatever it is that you want to accomplish? What are you doing to try to get that done, right? And then a system is a process or a routine. And as coaches, we're big on process, right? We want to make sure that we're doing what we have to do in the most effective way. And I'm reading a book right now, and one thing he said it was really cool was sometimes we mistake productivity for effectiveness. Because you can be productive, but you can be productively doing the wrong thing. But effectiveness is always doing the right thing. And so we always want to be effective in the way we're doing our routine and how we're doing things and the process of what we're doing. And so when we create our system, we want to look at what that process or what that routine is going to be. Once it's created, right, it doesn't require any intensive thought or effort. So once you input the system, there's no thinking. There's no, man, I got to do this or I got to do that. Once the system is in place, you know what you're doing, and then you go and accomplish whatever it is that you're doing. And then we want to think about it like this, think, and how we communicate, right, with ourselves, with our players, with the coaches. And for me, the systems are big just because, and I'll get into that later on in terms of why the systems are big. But we want to think about it like this. And I got this from a good coaching buddy, Woody Blevins, the why. So we want to think about the purpose and why we're doing things. We want to think about the purpose behind what we're doing. This is also, you can use this with your players as well in terms of how we teach them. And so you can always want to start with why, right? The purpose. A lot of our guys are why guys now. They always want to think about, why we're doing things. And so we want to always focus on why we're creating this system and what is the need for it. And then once you think about why, you think about the purpose, you have to think about the process and how you're going to accomplish that. And then after you figure out the process and how you're going to accomplish it, what result are you going to get from that? And when you think about it in that manner, you think about the purpose, you think about the process, you think about the result, you have everything you need to create that system. And so the system is the driver for everything you do within that area. And whatever it is that you're creating the system for, that's going to be the driver. So nothing should change once that system is created, right? Why you're doing what you're doing. That's the driver for the system. How are you going to do it, right? How are we going to accomplish whatever it is we're going to do it, and how are we going to get to that why? And then what are we doing, right? And so have to have a system for every single thing that you do. In our program, and this is what I found, and so this is my belief, is if you have a system for every single thing that you do in your program, no matter what, you're going to be fine, right? A system allows for things to stay the same for players, even though coaches may change. And for us, that's huge because I work at a small school. I work at, an NAIA school. So obviously our budget isn't the biggest, and so for us, our coaches are coming in and out sometimes. and it saves me time, and it saves me effort when I don't have to teach a coach what to do all over again. And we were running into that. I've been the head coach here for, this will be my third year, but my first year to my second year, I've had a whole new staff, right? And so after going through my first year and then going into my second year and then having to hire an entirely new staff, I was like, it's time. We got to put some systems in place so that everybody knows exactly what to do. And I don't care if, this guy leaves and I hire another guy. Our system is in place to where we're able to give him whatever he needs so that he knows exactly what is expected of him and exactly what he needs to do to be successful. A system will allow you to get more reps. And so obviously we talk about offensive, defensive, and, special teams. We all have our systems that we run on those, and those allow you to get more reps. And, the things that we do on offense, the things that we do on defense, we're able to get more reps because of the system that we run. And then the system, it'll save you time in the long run. And again, the toughest part about a system and setting up a system is figuring out everything, right? The why you're doing it, the how, right? The process of what it's going to take to get that up and running, and then the result that you want from it. But once you set all of that up, then you're going to be good to go. And it does take time to set the system up, but once you set up the system, then everything is good. And again, setting up a system will be the hard part, but once it's complete, everything is going to flow from that. So you're not going to have to go back, and you might go back and tweak a few things, but you're not going to have to overhaul everything once you figured out what you're doing. And the system is definitely going to take time. So be patient in that process, knowing that once it's in place, you're good to go. While we have systems at TIU, right, we talked about it a little bit, we're a small school. And so our coaches wear many different hats. Our guys do a lot of different things outside of coaching football. And so having a system set up allows us to be able to, flow into that and move into that, whatever that extra job is, and be able to do it efficiently without having to spend a whole bunch of time of figuring out how to do it, right? We have a lot of staff turnover, and I talked a little bit about that just a minute ago. We have a lot of guys who are coming in and out. Guys are moving on, getting different jobs. And so whenever I hire a new guy, instead of having to, teach him the entire thing and spend a lot of time, because, obviously time is limited, right? Only a certain number of hours in a day. I can, hand over him, and ultimately all our systems are manuals, right? And so I can hand him the manual for whatever it is that he's going to be taking over, and then he can work into that and kind of make it his own, right? And then it provides what is expected and a guide on how to do it. And so obviously we're going to go over our staff expectations. We're going to go over, what's expected of each coach at whatever position it is, whatever your extracurricular job is, and how to do that. But now the system being put in place saves time for me, because now if he does have a question, he can go in and look at, okay, what is the system, instead of me having to continue to, help him out and walk alongside him as he does that. He'll have the system in place already to where he can look at it and figure out what he needs to get done. And if there's something that he doesn't understand with it, glad to explain it to him. But if, he has the system and it's already in place, he's able to, take it and run with it. Right. And so we talk about what the system is, talk about why do we have the system, how do we build it, right? Got to identify the need, identify what it is that you need a system for. There's a lot of different things in a program, and I'll share a little bit with you on what we have systems for, but got to identify the need and what you want the system for, what process is needed for the system to carry out the necessary function. So what do you need to do to carry out the function for the system? And then what will be the result from the system being created, right? And so what is going to happen once you create that system? What's going to be the result, or what fruit can you bear from the system being created? And we talk about, all right, what should I have a system for? And so, many things that we talk about is, we always have a system for our offense and our defense and our special teams. And you're definitely going to have a system for that. And I guarantee you each position coach probably has a manual. I guarantee you each side of the ball, offense, defense, special team, each of those has a playbook. And so we want to make sure that we have a system not only for those, because those obviously are important parts of the game, but everything else within our program we want to have a system for. We want to have manuals for those, right? And so I know a lot of coaches, they have recruiting manuals, right? We actually have a manual for video and how to get videos done, how to do video. Each step in our process of creating film and, how we exchange film, what it needs to look like. We have a manual on that. We have an equipment manual where it talks about how to run our equipment room, what things we need to order, what time frame they need to be ordered, right? A leadership manual. So this is for our leadership council. We have a manual for them that we give them and that they're able to look through, that our coaches have, that we're able to look through. And then also, we want to think about, okay, what are we doing? And then when are we doing it, right? How do you or what point should you touch on in a win? What point should you touch on in a loss? How are you going to talk to the team about, something that just happened that was bad? How are you going to talk to the team about things that are going good or what to do when you're having success? We have a manual for all of that. Social media, this is something we're big in. And we have not a manual, but we have a plan for what we do on social media. Strength and conditioning. I know most teams have a strength and conditioning plan, or they have their workouts, but do you have an actual manual or a plan where, working at a small school, one of your coaches might be the strength coach and a position coach. And so that might save him some time if he has a manual on how to do things. And then you might have a guy come in and you might not want to change how you're doing your workouts or anything like that. Then you give him the system for strength and conditioning, right? Travel, man, same thing kind of with the equipment, when to book the travel, how to book it, all those certain things. Camps, right? We try to do some camps in the summer. And so we want to have a system for how we go about doing camps and everything that's needed, right? Academics, what are the things that we need for academics and our plan of attack with that? And then also our managers get a manual and all of their expectations and, their duties, their process and everything like that. And so these are the things that we have a system for. There might be some other things that, we're still looking to improve. And I think I forgot one on there. Our practice plan, we have a system for practice planning as well. And so all of these things I think are important. And, for me as the head coach, these are things that all these things are needed in terms of us having our program being able to function. And so if I'm able to increase the effectiveness of how we go about doing things and having a system for it and not having to reteach, but just empower our assistant coaches, our managers, and whoever else is involved in our program, then we're able to move along and do what's right for our program and have that system in place. So now it's easy for those guys to transition in. So where to start? So creating a system takes time, and a lot of these things, myself, my offensive coordinator, assistant head coach, we sat down together and we talked and we talked it out. And, we look at all the different avenues, all the different outcomes, the results we want, how we're going to do it, what we need to do. And these conversations are long. They can last hours, but they're necessary. Because once you get that system in place, you don't have to go back to it and kind of overhaul it. And so, we'll sit down. I know when we talked about our we have a scholarship incentive program. And so, that was about a 3-hour conversation and how we're going to do that. We want to leave no stone unturned when you're creating the system. And so we want to look at, all the pros, all the cons, the good, the bad, the ugly, figure all those things out. And then we want to poke holes through what we've come up with. And so we want to try to figure out what things can we do to, I want to try to figure out something wrong with it. And if I can't find anything wrong with it, then we'll roll it out. If I do find something wrong with it, we'll figure out how to fix it. If we're not able to fix it, then we're back to that planning stage, and we got to figure out what we're going to do to kind of figure that out. And then we want to compartmentalize everything, and then kind of talked about that, with the leadership. But what do you do when? Right? And so, what do you do when you got to order equipment? What do you do when it's time to post on social media, right? We're not just posting on social media just to post on social media. We have a planned attack on how we're going to do that. When we're ordering equipment, or we're planning practice, or we're planning workouts, we don't just fly off the top of our head when we're doing it. We have a system for it, and then we're going to go out and execute that system. And anybody on our staff, anybody in our program, they can execute the system because, one, the system's already been created. They know the expectation, they know the process, and then now they just have to make it their own. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over just a few of our systems that we have in place. I'll talk about our academic plan. I'll talk about what we do social media, how we look at our practice plan, and then a little bit about our recruiting process. And so here is our TIU academic success plan. And so we talk about our plan. So the Trojan tutoring expectations. So we have our expectations for tutorings, and so you can look at them here, right? We just tell our guys, be on time, bring work, and have a plan. I'm not going to go through these in depth, but just so you can kind of see what the process is and kind of what we've created, right? We talk to our guys about the 5 things, right? Can I miss class and be okay, right? We always tell them to show up. And the big thing with that is, would you expect to skip practice and then expect to play, right? So tell them to show up. We have our study hall expectations, right? And so, this is what their study hall, what they're required to do in study hall. This is another one, right? People think these get degrees, right? And in high school, ours is a little bit different in how we grade. And so you're not going to be eligible, or you're not going to be able to do things in terms of eligibility or academically if you're not taking care of business in the classroom, right? We talked to them about sitting where they got to sit in the classroom, and we've done studies on this. Talking about writing notes, taking notes, turning in assignments, what our study sessions would look like, and how they work, and then how that works in with lifting, right? And then our academic success plan, right? If they're new to Trinity, or if they're here and continuing, and then how many hours of tutoring they have per week, right? And then study hall as well. And so that's kind of our academic plan. And so as you saw in that, we had just different things of how we went about doing that academic piece. And then we had our different areas of emphasis on, what guys needed to do. And what we would do is, like, let's say we were giving academics to another coach. We would give him that, and then he would roll that out to the team, and then be able to explain everything that needed to be explained. And then the next thing I want to show you guys is our social media plan. And so our social media plan, right? This is just, it's only 1 page, but this obviously it took a lot of time. And so this is the plan we use when we're posting on social media. So you'll see us a lot post on social media, and it's all calculated. And, sometimes we'll post anytime we'll post anytime that we're going to post something, or we want to post something. You have the freedom to do that. But then we also have a system in place, or a plan in place, right? In January, we're going to be posting about why we chose TIU. In October, we want to post about our seniors and our alumni, right? In May, we're going to be talking about recruiting, right? April, we're going to be talking about spring ball. August, we're going to be talking about camp and, team building and kids arriving at TIU. And so those are different things that we use when we're doing social media, right? And then our practice planning, right? And so I definitely stole this. I got this from a high school coach out here in Illinois. Does a really good job, man. And it was something that kind of blew my mind. He has each week of practice planned out in turn. And I'm not talking about like the drills and things like that, but the process and the outcome that you want to have, the tempo of practice, and installs, and the challenge for the coaches and what we want to see from practice. And this is a look at, kind of what that looks like. And, this is what our week would look like. And I just input in, kind of what the outcome we want to have, the tempo, the concepts that we want to focus on, what our defense practice is going to look like, what our offensive practice is going to look like, all those things within that. So now when we're building our practice plan, I need to be able to see those things in there. And with this new system, now it's going to help us to, one, figure out what we're doing, and then now why we're doing it, right? And, okay, if I'm, if our concept that we're installing on Wednesday is this, right? If it's a certain concept that we're installing on Wednesday, then all of our indie periods, all of our group periods, they should mirror whatever that concept is that we're inputting, right? And so the system is going to drive how we do our practice plan. And then also our recruiting process. And so the process and how we recruit. And this isn't like our recruiting plan. This is actually teaching our guys how to recruit. And so our recruiting coordinator did a really good job of putting this together. But this is a plan of, what great recruiters, the things that all great recruiters what all great recruiters have in common, right? And then how to recruit, how to go about recruiting, right? Want to tell a great story, bring the energy, develop relationships, understand your recruits' needs, ask questions, right? Why TIU? Locate and overcome objectives, involve the parents, closing, right? After signing, qualifying questions, qualifying questions to ask the parents, questions to ask the coaches, making effective phone calls, tips for how to listen, tips for home visits, tips for emails. So our recruiting plan or our recruiting system is all right here, right? Then obviously we have a recruiting manual that has everything, right? What are we looking for? What position we're recruiting? Our target numbers, all those types of things. That's the manual and what we want. This is actually telling us how to do it and why are we doing it. And so with this system in place, it's going to help us just to help our guys recruit. So now if I got a new coach on staff who's never recruited before, we just give him this and he has an outline on what he needs to do, the expectation and also how to do it. Or, we might have a coach on staff who, he might have recruited before, but he's never recruited here at Trinity. And so he has to learn that process and what to do there. And so that's kind of us and our deal and what we do and how we create systems. And so that's all I have, Coach. If there's any questions or anything that you guys might have about, how to effectively create a system or put something together, my contact info is there. Definitely reach out, or if you just want to talk some ball, we can do that as well. But definitely open to helping guys and helping coaches, especially during this time, to help themselves to be more effective, and then also creating whatever it is that you need to create so that you can do what you got to do in your program.